Daylight Wall stands forever. No other wall stands against it. Bring them down.
Let's rank Warhammer 40k factions by their morality. Okay, so let's start with the most neutral one out there. Right smack dab in the middle of this good and evil alignment, we have the League of Votan. Capitalist dwarves that care about their ancestors. That's it. That's all their thing. They're not really evil. They don't have a greater plan for doing evil stuff or destroying something. And, well, they base all their nature and race upon not only survival, but also living the best life they can, and then going back to their machine spirit. I mean, big giant computer where they put their spirits in to help guide the future generations. Not really bad guys, to be honest. They had dealings with the Imperium and with Xenos races, and they seem pretty okay with them. They don't really have the Imperium's hatred for the Xenos. Well, I guess they also don't have the Imperium's experience with the Xenos. But they're pretty okay in that aspect. That's why I put them at right smack dab in the neutral position, because I can't really put them anywhere else if you think about it. But also their lore is new and I need to do some catching up. So this list is subject to change, like a wrestling card. Next, let's move to something else. How about we look at... Let's go in the left direction, which in this case the left direction would be the evil alignment. Factions that are purely evil. Chaos. I've already made an argument for that. But the Chaos Gods have their own... Well, intelligence. Yeah, intelligence works as a word for this. They have their own intelligence, their own ambitions, their own desires. They act as human beings. And if you saw what happens to, well, followers of Chaos that are not preferred by a certain Chaos God, it doesn't end well. Not everybody becomes Lucius, the Eternal, or Karn. No, not everybody becomes that, so... Yeah, Chaos is evil. I also made a whole other separate video about Chaos being evil, so go watch that one. So we'll skip this one and move to the other faction. The one just as evil as Chaos, because there are grades of evil, and Chaos is the most evil, but close to Chaos, or I would say even equally to Chaos, is the Drukhari, the Dark Eldars. Because what's one good solution to stop a Chaos God from eating your soul? Making it stronger. Because that's logic. Now, hear me out. Doing the things that Slaanesh feeds off, excess pleasure and pain and stuff like that, doesn't sound like a good solution when it comes to combating She Who Thirsts, the Prince of Excess, or whatever other name Slaanesh has anymore, I forgot. It's not really a good idea, and let's be honest, if you read about what they do and their experiments, you will probably agree with me that they are just as evil as Chaos. Some might even presume they are even worse than Chaos. And of course, there are arguments to be made, like the road to heaven is paved with good intentions. In this case, there is no road to heaven, there's a road to hell, and there's going through all the circles of it and trying to find a deeper hell where to go. That's what the Dark Eldars are doing. Moving on, let's go to another faction, the Orcs. Now Orcs, some might say, they should be closer to neutral, because all they do is want to fight and destroy stuff and loot and pillage, and you're seeing the problem, right? You're seeing why I'm putting them at evil. Right? It's there, I'm not a fool. This whole race only exists for war and destruction. Which is frankly quite funny, because this other candidate, this other faction, also lives for the same motives. And that is the Tyranids. Now some might say, oh, the Tyranids should be also more neutral. Excuse me. It's a giant hive mind that wants to eat everything around it. Also, let's not forget the use of the Gene Stealer cults, with their whole brainwashing and waiting for the Hive Fleet to come and turn everything into biomass that they can eat. I think a good analogy for Tyranids is saying they are like a band of rabid dogs that attack children. Or like somebody that goes on Epstein's Island. You understand what I mean. They do it to survive, but their survival is a complex mechanism that honestly harms everything around them. And they do it for pure evil intent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna be here trying to make vegan Tyranids the same way some people treat their dogs and cats as vegans, but we don't really know who made that decision. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying its own complex neurological network, the way it works, and the whole gene stealer cults things doesn't make them any better than the orcs that just want to loot, pillage, and fight. In the case of the Tyranids, they just want to consume everything and leave nothing behind. Like the AntiLife... No, I was about to say AntiLife equation, but no, that's not it. Think of it like the virus bombs. They come and they eat everything. It's simple. It is an evil act done by an evil creature, and the Hive Fleets and the Tyranids, they have something more of an intelligence. They have a goal or something out there that the virus doesn't. So that's what makes them as bad as orcs. Next, let's move, which I guess is close to orcs and Tyranids. This faction is the Necrons. And the Necrons are here for the pure reason of, wanting to destroy the galaxy and get back their former empire. It's that simple. There's nothing complex to it. It's basically the same reasons as the orcs or Tyranids. But the difference is that while the orcs are only good at fighting and the Tyranids are complex in this whole destruction of life thing, the Necrons do it willingly. They know what they're doing, sort of like the Drukhari. And you know what? I will put the Necrons above above the Tyranids and the orcs when it comes to this, because the Necrons know what they're doing. The orcs are too dumb to know what they're doing, especially after the War of the Beast and their current iteration in the 40k universe. Okay, is there any other faction that I've missed for being evil? You can see that I put most Xenos factions on here, or enemy factions, whatever. Let's move to not really neutral, but let's go to the other part of the equation, the neutral good part, shall we say. And there we have the Tau, who fight for the greater good, of course, if you exclude the brainwashing and chemical castration for different species. Yeah, that's the nice one. I mean, if you exclude those, things look good. It seems that Tau worlds can be peaceful and live quite nice. Sort of like Imperium agri-worlds, far away from anybody. So that's good, but it also comes to a little bit of, the caveats of the Vespids and the Gesala, the human recruits, being brainwashed and castrated. Again, it's not really that good, but they're not evil from their own intent. While the pheromone thing might put them, sorted there with the whole mind controlling stuff, like the gene stealer cults, they aren't really evil in that aspect. And I think they could also fit into the neutral part of this alignment. And to be honest, I'm gonna revise this right now. I'm going to put them closer to neutral than to good, because there are still elements of the faction, that are, dubious, to say the least. But what I think really fits neutral good is the Eldars. The Eldars have always been constant in their own desires to reclaim their fallen empire, and they do it in the worst ways possible of doing it, let's be honest. The craft world Eldars I'm talking about. It's always the worst ways possible. They never tell anybody anything, they manipulate things against everybody, and they hope that at the end they will be the sole survivors and, win this battle royal of grim darkness. Which is interesting, but then again, you kind of have to understand that there are better ways for them to do this, and there have always been better ways to do it. In fact, they've done it in better ways. The only problem is they're constant in keeping their own motives to themselves, and that's not really helping. Though you can say their intentions are good. Reclaim their former kingdom, get rid of Slaanesh and Chaos, so they don't get eaten by a fat Chaos god when they die eventually. Those are good motives. Those are good things. It's just the way they go through them. Well, the whole secrecy and stuff is iffy. Now, I could also bring in the factions that I've discussed. The Dark Eldars. I could bring up the Harlequins or Iverin's whatever cult of death that they have when she tried to revive Guilliman, or when she did revive Guilliman and their whole relationship stuff. But I'm gonna avoid those factions. Because I think the Eldar, the Harlequins, and this Eldar faction, the Ivrain, whatever, things are more like sub-factions. Now, I'm talking about bigger factions overall. And in a way, yes, I am considering the sub-factions of that thing to complement and, well, have some sort of talking point and measure into my decision. So that's why I put the Eldar, the Craft World Eldars at neutral good, because it has potential. It has potential to be good. They just need to learn to communicate more. But that's a problem in what is called the corporate world of today, so not surprised. And on the same position as the Eldar, on the neutral good part, we have the Imperium. Let's be honest with one thing. If you don't support the humans, now you can like any other faction, but if you don't support the humans, that's a really big, how do they say it? Yikes. I like that. Anyway, joke aside, the Imperium, I put them at this position because at the end of days, the Imperium is trying to survive in an interesting way, and quite frankly, the whole world is against them. Even the Eldars, who keep always their secrecy, even the Eldars are against them. The Tau the same, and almost any other faction in this universe is against them. Their whole goal is to try and survive. Now, some might say the Imperium had it coming and the Imperium is evil. A little bit of a problem. Not really. Because you can't really read parts like the Undying parts from War of the Beast and really go like, yep, evil, everything's evil. You see, I said earlier for the Craft World Eldar that I'm taking into consideration other sub-factions and what they do in this assessment. And so I do with the Imperium. Because the Imperium has a lot of stories and there's a lot to talk about. And I think condensing, just putting them all together into this neutral good part is really the best outcome for this, in my opinion. From considering the, what should we call them, the evil chapters that fall to chaos, or the evil chapters like the Minotaurs who act as pawns for the High Lords, to the good Salamanders and all the other good deeds they have done. Same with the Inquisition, same with the Assassins, same with the Battle Sisters, the Sisters of Battle, and so on. When everything is said and done, I think this is the best position for them. Because really, it's an empire trying to survive against a world that wants it dead. And when you have factions like the Drukhari, Chaos, Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, you're gonna be a good guy at the end when your whole goal is survival and not the complete extinction of everything else. And it's not even to say that the Imperium's xenophobic ideas are somehow a mark of, evilness. Because the Imperium has worked before with the Eldar. We know that happens. And we know there have been alliances with the Eldar made at certain points. At least we not forget that Guilliman was brought back thanks to the Eldars. Let's not forget that one of the Eldars in the Dark Imperium books that appears to talk with Guilliman and the librarian is Ilian Nastase. The former guy that was a half Eldar, half human. Yeah. So they are willing to work with certain species that are up for it in the 41st or 42nd millennium. So even that xenophobic line really now centers more around species that want the Imperium dead. Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, Drukhari, Even Tau in certain aspects, but the Tau are more of an interesting faction when it comes to this. Again, I don't think I missed anything. By the way, in this, shall we say, tier list ranking, I've also taken into consideration the fact that, I had to include the Adeptus Mechanicus into the Imperium and not make it its own thing. But I don't really think that influenced the decision that much. Nevertheless, I'll see you in the next one.